In the silent, unending theater of the cosmos, where darkness is the stage and time the performance, light is the storyteller. It travels for eons, carrying tales of birth and destruction, of serene nebulas and collapsing stars. For billions of years, a single, piercing beam of this light has journeyed across the expanding void, a messenger from an age so distant that our own sun, our planet, and the very dust that would form our bodies did not yet exist. When it finally arrived, striking the cold, impartial instruments of a species that had only just learned to look up, it did not whisper its story. It screamed. It appeared as a point of impossible brilliance, a beacon so luminous it defied the known physics of stars, so radiant it outshone its entire home galaxy 100 times over. It was a fire in the deep, a celestial ghost that burned brighter than 1 trillion suns combined, and it came from the heart of the most profound darkness imaginable. What kind of engine could drive such a cataclysmic furnace? What kind of monster could wear a cloak of such impossible light? And what secrets does its ancient glare hold about the violent youth of our universe? To find the answer, we must travel back in time, following this ray of light to its source, to a place of cosmic superlatives where the laws of nature are bent to their absolute limit. Join us, as we descend into the heart of the brightest object ever observed, to confront the most massive black hole ever found. Join us, as we seek to understand the titan known as TON 618. Now, let's begin. Our journey does not start in the fathomless depths of intergalactic space, but in the quiet, patient halls of human observation, in a time when the universe was still believed to be a far calmer, more predictable place. It was the middle of the 20th century, an era of astronomical revolution. On a mountaintop in Mexico, the Tonantzintla Observatory conducted a survey, its telescope a humble eye aimed at the celestial sphere. Its mission was simple: to find faint blue stars, the hot, young denizens of our own Milky Way galaxy. Astronomers scanned photographic plates, their eyes tracing the familiar patterns of constellations, searching for outliers, for points of light that held the signature of stellar youth. Among the thousands of catalogued objects, one seemed unremarkable at first, just another faint dot on a glass plate. It was given the designation TON 618. It was blue, as expected, and faint, as expected. But something was deeply wrong. When its light was passed through a spectrograph, an instrument that splits light into its constituent colors and reveals the chemical fingerprints of its source, the result was nonsensical. The expected spectral lines, the telltale signatures of hydrogen and helium that should have been present in a young star, were there, but they were distorted, stretched, and shifted so far towards the red end of the spectrum that they were almost unrecognizable. This phenomenon, known as redshift, is the universe's own speedometer. It is the signature of distance, the stretching of light waves as the very fabric of spacetime expands between the source and the observer. A star within our galaxy would have a negligible redshift. But the redshift of TON 618 was colossal. It was a value so extreme it implied a velocity and a distance that shattered the initial assumption. This was no star. This was not a neighbor in our galactic spiral arm. This was a message from the edge of the visible cosmos, a relic from the dawn of time. The faintness of TON 618 was not due to intrinsic weakness, but to its almost unimaginable distance. To appear even as a faint dot from over 10 billion light-years away, its true, intrinsic brightness had to be an absurdity. It had to be an object generating energy on a scale that dwarfed entire galaxies. The quiet search for a humble star had inadvertently stumbled upon a cosmic monster. The astronomers of the time had discovered a quasar. They did not yet fully understand what it was, this quasi-stellar radio source, but they knew it represented a new, violent, and profoundly powerful class of object. TON 618 was not just a member of this class, it was an outlier even among outliers. It was an ultraluminous quasar, a term that feels inadequate, like calling a supernova a flicker. It was a lighthouse built to illuminate the shores of a forgotten universe, and at its heart, churning with unimaginable power, was an engine of pure gravity, an object whose existence was still more theory than fact, a black hole. But the scale of the engine required to power TON 618 would have to be something else entirely, a beast of such impossible proportions that it would force us to invent a new classification, to find a new word for the giant. The faint blue dot was a mask, a placid facade for a cosmic cataclysm burning billions of light-years away. It was the radiant scream of matter being consumed by a leviathan, a final, brilliant cry before being pulled into an abyss from which not even light, the universe's fastest messenger, could ever escape. The mystery of its light was solved, but it opened a door to a far deeper, darker question: what was the nature of the singularity that powered it? To understand the light, we must first understand the darkness it springs from. A quasar is not an object in itself, but a phenomenon, a temporary and spectacularly violent event. It is the grandest of all cosmic spectacles, the death agony of matter in the court of a king. The king, in this case, is a supermassive black hole. Not the stellar mass kind, born from the collapse of a single giant star, but a galactic behemoth, millions or billions of times the mass of our Sun, lurking in the core of nearly every major galaxy, including our own Milky Way. Most of these giants are sleeping. They lie dormant in the galactic centers, their gravitational influence quietly choreographing the orbits of stars around them. But in the early universe, the cosmos was a more chaotic, target-rich environment. Galaxies were closer together, cosmic gas was more plentiful, and galactic collisions were commonplace. When a vast cloud of gas and dust, or an unfortunate star, wanders too close to this sleeping giant, it is snared by a gravitational tide of unimaginable force. It cannot fall straight in. Instead, like water spiraling down a drain, it is pulled into a vast, swirling vortex of matter known as an accretion disk. This is the true engine of the quasar. This is the source of TON 618's impossible light. As matter is dragged closer to the black hole's event horizon, the point of no return, it is compressed and accelerated to nearly the speed of light. The friction and shear forces within this disk are so immense, so utterly extreme, that the matter is heated to temperatures of hundreds of thousands, even millions of degrees. It is torn apart at the subatomic level, becoming a superheated plasma that glows with an intensity that beggars belief. This incandescent maelstrom of dying matter is what we see as a quasar. It is a structure that can span light-years, a cosmic hurricane of light and energy, all powered by the simple, relentless pull of gravity. The black hole itself, the dark heart of the storm, remains unseen, a perfect sphere of blackness defined only by the fiery chaos of the matter it is about to consume. The light of a quasar is, therefore, a paradox. It is the brightest sustained emission of energy in the universe, and it is generated just outside the boundary of the darkest thing in existence. It is a cosmic scream, the final testament of matter before it is silenced forever. And in the case of TON 618, that scream is the loudest ever recorded. Its luminosity is estimated to be 140 trillion times that of our Sun. It does not just outshine its host galaxy, it renders it completely invisible, a ghost hidden behind a veil of pure energy. To produce this much light, the central engine must be consuming matter at a prodigious rate, devouring the equivalent of several suns' worth of mass every single year. But more importantly, to sustain such a vast and powerful accretion disk, to gravitationally command a feast of this magnitude, the central object must be of a truly staggering scale. The light told us the what and the how, but it was the sheer quantity of that light that hinted at the true, terrifying nature of the monster within. It was not just a supermassive black hole. It was something more. The calculations, derived from the breadth of those redshifted spectral lines and the sheer power output, pointed to a mass so great it sits at the very theoretical upper limit of what is thought to be possible for a black hole to achieve. The heart of TON 618 is an ultramassive black hole, a gravitational singularity of 66 billion solar masses. Let us pause to contemplate this number, 66 billion times the mass of our star. The words are easily spoken, but the scale is fundamentally beyond human intuition. It is a number that breaks all terrestrial analogies. The supermassive black hole at the center of our own galaxy, Sagittarius A, is a respectable 4 million solar masses. It is a formidable object, a giant by any reasonable standard. But TON 618 is not just larger, it represents a different order of being entirely. It is to our galaxy's black hole what a blue whale is to a bacterium. If Sagittarius A were the size of a golf ball, TON 618 would be a sphere wider than a football stadium. Its event horizon, the Schwarzschild radius, is a boundary of pure spacetime geometry from which nothing can escape. For TON 618, this boundary is immense. It spans over 2,500 astronomical units. If this object were placed at the center of our solar system, its edge would extend far beyond the orbit of Neptune, swallowing every planet, every asteroid, every comet, without a whisper. The entire realm of our Sun would become a tiny, insignificant fraction of the abyss itself. Voyager 1, humanity's most distant emissary, which has been traveling for nearly half a century, would take over 10,000 years just to cross the diameter of this black hole's shadow. This is not merely a celestial object, it is a cosmological feature, a gravitational entity so dominant that it warps the fabric of its local universe into an inescapable well. How does such a thing come to be? A monster of this scale is not born, it is built, over billions of years, through a process of relentless consumption and cosmic cannibalism. Its story begins in the primordial universe, a time shortly after the Big Bang when the first stars and galaxies were just beginning to form. It likely started as a seed black hole, perhaps from the collapse of a massive population 3 star, the very first generation of stars, or from the direct collapse of a colossal cloud of pristine gas. This initial seed, perhaps only a few hundred or 1,000 solar masses, found itself in a uniquely fertile environment. It resided at a nexus of the cosmic web, the vast, filamentary structure of dark matter that forms the scaffolding of the universe. Along these filaments, rivers of cold, dense hydrogen gas flowed, channeled by gravity directly into the heart of the young, forming galaxy. This was the first course of its unending feast. For millions of years, it fed on this pristine cosmic fuel, its mass growing exponentially. Then came the mergers. In the crowded, chaotic environment of the early universe, galaxies collided and merged frequently. With each merger, the central black hole of the smaller galaxy would spiral inward, eventually combining with the growing titan at the center in a cataclysmic event that would send gravitational waves, ripples in space-time itself, shuddering across the cosmos. Ton 618 is the product of thousands of such mergers, a king built from the corpses of countless lesser kings, each meal adding to its mass, increasing its gravitational reach, and making it an even more effective predator for the next encounter. It grew in a runaway process, a feedback loop of gravitational dominance. The more massive it became, the more efficiently it could capture gas and other black holes, and the more it captured, the more massive it became. It is the ultimate expression of gravity's cumulative power, a testament to the universe's capacity to build structures of such profound and terrifying scale, one galaxy, one star, one stream of gas at a time, over the course of cosmic history. The process of this ultramassive black hole's growth, the very act that gives rise to the quasar's brilliant light, is a